Hi everyone, Ben DiBono here, and we made it. We made it to the end of this epic disaster. I'll get there in just a second. I do want to just give a quick plug on the cigar I'm smoking. So this is a La Llorona from Adventura Cigars. The reason I want to plug them is Adventura Cigars, their factory just burned down in Nicaragua a couple weeks ago. They're phenomenal cigar company. So if you have any interest in cigars, please go check out Adventura Cigars. They need the support right now. I actually met the owner at Henderson Ventura at an event here in the Twin Cities a couple months ago. Great guy. Go check them out. They're way better than anything else we're going to talk about here tonight, which is a complete and total shit show. So Adventura Cigars. My favorite, if you want a recommendation, the Queen's Pearls and Barbarossa's Invasion. Can't go wrong with either one of those sticks. They're phenomenal. Okay, I'm going to start this on a petty note here tonight. And I'm actually going to pull up my phone here, and we're going to go to the dictionary. The reason we're going to go to the dictionary is I would like to read you the definition of the word catacombs. Okay? This is what you get when you put it in. Number one, an underground cemetery consisting of chambers or tunnels with recesses for graves. Two, an underground, often labyrinthine passageway. Three, originally the name of a locality near Rome, the Hollows, blah, 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 blah. You'll notice that there's nothing in there about it being a place to store documents. This show is so dumb that they keep bringing up in this episode, send somebody to go scour the catacombs. Dumbasses, catacombs are not archives. There is no usage of the word where they could be archives. And in fact, I went so far just to make sure, just because I don't want to be a jerk, I went so far as to check the etymology of the word catacombs. And it actually goes back to Latin and means among the tombs. It doesn't have anything to do with documents. So when Galadriel sends her little assistant out to go scour the catacombs for a document, I'm telling you, it's stupid. So what's my takeaway from that? My takeaway is this. Jeff Bezos, the next time you're in the mood to waste $1 billion, call me. Call me. Why? Will I do a great job? I mean, this is my cinematography, This is it. You're looking at my filmmaking skills. Okay. I have no credits on IMDb. I am not even on IMDb. But you know what I won't do? I won't make that fucking mistake. Okay? Because I think the people who actually made this show, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think they're actually idiots. I think they're actually not intelligent people. And I know that is disrespectful and unkind, but I think that Jeff Bezos actually gave $1 billion to a few morons and sent them off to go make a Lord of the Rings show. It's astonishing. So Jeff, next time you want to waste $1 billion, call me. It'll still be a waste, but I'll do better than they did. I mean, that's what, usually when you're criticizing something, you criticize a movie, like criticize a Michael Bay movie. Well, you couldn't do that. Yeah, of course I couldn't. There's technical precision involved in making something that, complex and everything that I don't possess. And, it's like when you're watching the NFL and the quarterback throws a dumb pass, or there's a missed tackle, and you got a bunch of fat, washed up dads at a bar yelling at the TV. It's like, well, you couldn't do that. Yeah, that never said I could. In this case, I actually think that if you gave me $1 billion, I could do better than what they came up with. Not good, because I don't have filmmaking skills, but better. But better. It's that fucking bad. All right. Let's get into the actual episode, etymology aside. So they tried the fake out of Meteor Man being Sauron, which, did you buy that? Because I did for a minute, and I'll tell you why. The reason I bought it for a minute is because I thought these people are dumb enough to actually make that the twist, to make this guy Sauron. They're actually dumb enough to think that this is the way to go. So, I wasn't shocked that it wound up being a fake out, even though they were doing it. Really? No, but really? I was like 90% convinced it was a fake out. But that 10% was super convincing, because I just think the show is that stupid where I would have bought it in just a moment. So here's how this episode felt to me. It felt like, you know, they got to the end of writing this season and realized what I and others have been saying for weeks now, which is that your show is called Rings of Power and there are no Rings of Power. And at the last moment, like 2 hours before the scripts were due, they decided to throw the Rings of Power storyline into the last episode. Like, what the hell was that? Just this half-assed effort to show the forging of the rings. And I'm just going to bounce around. I assume you guys have seen the episode, or if you haven't, well, it's no more coherent if I go through it in order than if I just bounce around on it. It's a complete mess. But, you got this whole thing that, okay, they're trying to get to, now that we know Halbrand is Sauron and all of that. So he's going to get there, and he's, of course, has to help Celebrimbor and forge the rings and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's this whole thing in the myth, in the lore of him teaching the elves ringcraft, and I'm probably getting details wrong, but don't at me, Tolkien nerds. Like, I'm a Tolkien nerd, but I'm not going to go back and check on the details of that. The point is, Sauron is involved in the lore and creating the rings. And one of the things that I'm starting to learn about this show is that they're actually very, very, very literal. Like, extremely literal. Like, okay, Sauron and Morgoth made Mordor. Well, when you read that in a mythological sense, it's exactly that. It's like mythological. It's myths don't have to have a logical A to B to C. And these dumbasses decided they needed to show us a Rube Goldberg machine to blow up a volcano. So now we get to Sauron teaching the elves ringcraft, and it's the same thing. Like, he's actually teaching Celebrimbor metallurgy. It's like his stupid shop class. Like, holy crap, when we get there, and at this point it was pretty obvious that the Meteor Man thing had been a fake out, but we get there and he's like, no, you gotta use these metals, and then they just have this 5-minute conversation about metals. I was ready to blow my brains out. Like, I can't do this. What is happening here? It's like, for as bad as this show has been, here's your moment. Sauron is teaching ringcraft, and instead they're talking about alloys. Like, list all the topics you don't want to hear about in a Lord of the Rings show. Alloys, in a very technical sense, is one of them. What are we doing? No one gives a shit about the metallurgic science behind the forging of the Rings of Power. Let me say that again. No one gives a shit. What they care about is that Sauron, the embodiment of evil upon Middle-earth, was involved in the process and corrupted the damn things. For fuck's sake. You're talking about alloys. No one cares. No one cares. Boy, it was obnoxious. So, but they care, so it's like they took the most literal sense possible of Sauron showing up to help forge the rings. Which, and by the way, because the whole thing with the three elven rings is that Sauron never touches them, and so they're not corrupted in the same way the dwarven ones and the 9 are, but they're still bound to the one. But, like, what's he doing? Like, if you just watch the show, what exactly did Halbrand accomplish there? nothing, it seems like. And holy crap, like the moment where, like, oh, we have to make an object, and Galadriel's like, it could be a sword or a scepter. No, something round, like a crown. And they play this out for so long. Guys, your show is called Rings of Power. No one is fooled. Do you think you're fooling? I mean, probably the same people who thought that the whole fade from Southlands to Mordor thing was a good artistic choice. They were probably confused. But everyone else, like, oh, Rings of Power, but they're making a crown. Oh, shouldn't it be called Crowns of Power? And how does this even work? Like, last we checked, the elves had to saturate themselves in mithril, and now we're alloying the mithril with other things, and then we have like the HGTV, not HGTV, what's the QVC home shopping channel shot of like the rings on this little black background, and it's like, you can order your Ring of Power for 5 installments of $99.99. It's like, this is what it would look like the whole stupid episode. So that was obnoxious. Perhaps a crown. Oh, okay. The other thing that's obnoxious is Galadriel suddenly getting suspicious of Halbrand for no reason whatsoever. Like, why does she get suspicious of him? I don't know. I know, actually, because the plot decided, like, the plot required her to suddenly get suspicious of him. And why? Why? Like, why has she just been all, oh, we gotta, get Sauron Halbrand over to those lands and make him the king, and then get him elvish medicine. Like, if you were gonna be suspicious of him, an intelligent show might build that up. Like, she's conflicted. Oh, I want to, want him to be the king, and I want to fight Sauron, but there's some things here that don't add up. No, like, you build that up throughout the show. And no, it's just like she's all into him, and then suddenly she's, maybe he's Sauron. Somebody scan the catacombs. Do you mean the archives, your elfishness? Because catacombs are that's where the dead are kept. There are no documents down there. No, scour the catacombs! All right, it's like that. So then the guy comes back, and did you see the document he comes back with? Like, it looks like a Visio flowchart. Like, I'm pretty sure they actually designed that prop in Visio and just printed it out. Again, $1 billion. $1 billion. And what do we get? We get a fucking Visio flowchart PDF printout to show that Halbrand isn't the king. And are we really so confident in the record keeping? Because I wouldn't be. Like, how do you... the line died out. Well, is this a well-established fact? I mean, it was in the catacombs with the dead people. Those probably aren't the most reliable documents. And it's like the scene in Numenor when she sends the other stupid guy out to go look for a document. He's like, well, he found this. And it's the map of Mordor. It perfectly matches the sigil as this stupid letter. It's like the scene in Lord of the Rings of Fellowship where Gandalf goes and he goes to Gondor and he's in Minas Tirith and he's scouring through the archives, and like they cut through, the book of course has a lot more detail, but Peter Jackson manages to capture the sense that Gandalf is spending hours upon hours, scouring through these documents trying to find anything on the One Ring. Galadriel treats it like a fucking Wikipedia search. There you go. It's honestly unreal. Gil-galad in this episode. What's this sourpuss's problem? He's sitting here. He has this whole elaborate thing of, well, we gotta get the mithril, blah, 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 blah. And then, oh no, the elves are gonna die, and all of that. And then Celebrimbor and Elrond finally have a solution for him. He's like, no. Too late. Is it? Based on what? You moron? oh, the leaves are falling. You know, that's like the ultimate tell, don't show moment. Oh, the leaves are falling too fast. Could you show us that? Could you give us some visual reference for how the elves are fading? Because so far we've mainly seen one leaf. And the results were pretty good. Like, if the leaves on this tree are falling, and for whatever reason that's the ultimate barometer of dead elves, why don't you just go take the mithril and rub it against the tree a little bit and see if that works? Like, is anybody even thinking of consistency? Uh, you know, so let's talk about Sauron a little bit, because I told you I was going to bounce around. So Sauron's plan, and this I might need to do another WikiHow video on this, because Sauron's plan in this show, like, just now that you know Halbrand's Sauron, what was his plan? You know, Sauron's been gone for hundreds of years. Was he on the raft the whole time? You know, because that's where she met him. Remember, she jumps off the boat, and this is a lot of stupid things ago, so I don't blame you if you forgot. But she jumps off the boat, swims through the ocean, and randomly comes across Halbrand Sauron on this raft. So was he just waiting there? What was the plan here? Because it doesn't seem like it was a good one. And then at the same time, his whole Rube Goldberg Mount Doom machine was going off, but he didn't really seem to be involved with that, because Adar's involved with that. So that was just a happy coincidence, so he had a home of his own to go to at the end of the episode. And then, you know, it's like, okay, so let's just forget how long Sauron was on the raft, just think through this logically. He's there, and somehow we'll even give the show the benefit of the doubt that he arranged for Galadriel to come across him in the ocean. Okay, so that's his plan. And then they're going to get to Numenor. And then, like, what's his goal after that? Because he didn't seem that interested in being the king of the Southlands. And in fact, like, that wasn't his plan to become the king of the Southlands, because that lasted all of 5 minutes. You know, and then he needed elvish healing, and so he left with Galadriel. Like, if his plan was to get to Celebrimbor so he could do the forging of the rings and hope they have mithril, like, the whole thing's so convoluted. When you stop and think about it for 1 second, like, if Sauron isn't a master of evil, he's not the mastermind of Middle-earth, he's fucking Forrest Gump. Like, he's just wandering around, and things are happening to him, and I'm on the raft, and then, you know, then Galadriel pops up, and then I'm in the Southlands, oh, Mount Doom, and then it's like, Sauron, he's not evil, he's inept, he's just a bumbling idiot going from thing to thing. You know, and we have his whole scene with Galadriel, and they go through the whole, oh, you could be a dark queen, and blah, 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 blah. The whole thing from her temptation at the mirror. Again, I've harped on this so much this season. Stop. Stop referencing things from The Lord of the Rings. You are not as good as that show. You are not as good, or that show, those movies. You are not as good as the worst moments of those movies, and there were some bad moments along the way. So just stop. You don't want to invite this comparison any more than you already have. You inept, mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging morons. Stop! Alright, I might have a little bit more to say about that, but let's hit on a couple of other things. Isildur's sister. What the hell is going on there? So I'm going to try and recreate what I think happened. Well, not recreate it, because again, this is the limit of my artistic filmmaking abilities, is me in a chair yelling while I'm smoking a cigar. But let's see if we can just reconstruct it here. So she's an art student at the local community college, and the king is dying, and all the art students are now automatically entered into a contest to design his tomb. Which, by the way, do you think this is what the Brits are doing right now with Elizabeth? Like, do you think that they gathered up the local London community college art class and they all got to spend an hour with the Queen's body so they could, enter their contest on how to build the tomb? Like, does anybody think about what is happening in this show, or do they just? Well, we know the answer to that. Why am I even asking? So, Sis Sildor, because I don't know her name, so that's as good as any. She gets her chance to draw a sketch of the king to win an opportunity to design his tomb, and then he wanders off, and she finds the Palantir. Well, that was a satisfying end to that arc in this season, and Farazan, who seemed like a master manipulator, just vanished for the entire season, except to give a attaboy speech to the community college art class before they go and draw the king. Like, such ineptitude, such utter ineptitude. Okay, so that was one other plot line. Then we have Elendil and what's her name, the queen, who's blind and sometimes pretends to not be blind and sometimes wears a blindfold. And I'll be honest, I remember that there were scenes with them, but I've already blocked them out of my memory. And so I think he was sad about how Isildur died, but of course Isildur's not really died, so he'll probably get over it. And then, of course, there's the Gandalf storyline. And yeah, he's Gandalf. And I know that they didn't come out and say it, but he quoted a lot of lines from the original trilogy. And in this show, that's how you know they're trying to make a connection, because they wouldn't actually use storytelling. Now, people are upset because it's condensing the timeline of the Second Age. And, the wizards don't show up till later. Don't give a shit. Like, honestly, if it was a good show, that would be fine. Let's see, we got Rick Costa. I'm actually not Matt, Rick. I'm Ben. But I this is what I look like. You're yelling on the show. Yeah, I don't think Matt's even watches, but I'm glad you're watching, Rick, and I'm glad to hear. I didn't see your whole comment before it faded away. I'll go back and rewatch it, but I saw it sounds like you listened or have listened to the podcast. So welcome aboard. We're all here to yell about Rings of Power together. So you're more than welcome here. But glad you're enjoying it. But yeah, not Matt, Ben. Though I should say I'm flattered, to be mistaken for my esteemed co-host anytime. Okay, so the Gandalf thing is so weird because we have the Macbeth witches who are tracking him down and they think he's Sauron, and again we have to ask why. Like, are they chasing down every meteor that falls looking for Sauron? Or is it that he was a homeless guy and like anybody who looks vaguely homeless, they're going to track him down? Oh, yeah, no worries, Rick. You're allowed to be tired. I'm tired, too. It's all good, man. I'm just glad you're watching. Yeah, and so they have... This was so funny to me because they think he's Sauron, but his memories aren't back, and so what do? Like, they go camping. They start a bonfire, and of course it goes terribly wrong. The best part of this was when... what's his name, Hobbit? Sadok, or whatever the hell his name is. He gets the knife thrown at him, and he looks really dead, but then the plot needs him to not be dead yet, so he does a little bit more fighting, acting as though he's perfectly okay, and then he's sitting up with his family, and now the plot needs him to be dead, so now he dies. Like, did anyone do a second pass on any of these scripts? Any of them, ever? I don't think the answer is yes. Just a couple other things. That are just astonishing to me. I mean, you have Galadriel refusing to tell anybody that Halbrand is Sauron. Why? Is it because she's afraid she'll look dumb? Well, she's going to look a lot dumber later when they find out the truth themselves, and it's not as though she looks great to begin with. There's a moment where Sauron was talking about how the Mithril is proud. Like, what the hell is happening here? And if, you know, now that we know that the Rings of Power are actually made out of mithril, it kind of casts Bilbo's mithril coat from the original trilogy in an entirely different light. Like, Frodo had the One Ring, but man, think of all the Rings of Power he was just wearing around himself. I don't know, guys. At this point, the show's too big to fail. The noble thing to do would be for somebody to come out and say, we made a terrible mistake. We're sorry. We apologize to all the Tolkien fans out there. Actually, fuck the Tolkien fans. We apologize to anybody who suffered through this for the horrible taste that we used to put this out into the world. It was a mistake. Those responsible have been fired. We're going to take a 5-year hiatus and do this right. We're sorry. Of course, that won't happen. That won't happen. Well, it should. And again, Jeff Bezos, I'm available. If you would like somebody to take the helm for season 2, I'll do a bad job, but I'll do better than this. Who knows when we're going to see season 2. It's been delightful, though. What a delightful train wreck this was. I might still do a couple other videos on things that amused me throughout this show, but it's been a ride. I didn't expect to do anything on YouTube with Rings of Power, but after watching those first 2 episodes, it was so delightfully awful I had to do something, and it's turned into a whole thing. So thank you for watching. I hope that this made what was a painful, awful viewing experience just a little bit better for you. That's my goal, just to make it a little bit better for you. And, of course, I'll be back for season 2. Alright, guys, we'll talk to you later. No one goes off trail. No one walks alone until we steal your wheels. Fucking Harfoots.